Hi there, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I am Maya Engel, live in our digital studio, but honestly, I'd much rather be outside tonight because it is a beautiful evening. It's not too hot, not too cold. The sun is out. It is a lovely Tuesday evening. So I know this weather is going to continue, but Joe, you mentioned that it's going to stay nice, but it's going to get a little warmer every day this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd rather be outside tonight too. It's just a nice evening out there. Yeah, last night we had a couple spots, Maya. Grayling got down to 39 last night, and I think we'll get pretty close to that again. I don't know if that many 30s, but at least some 40s. But to your point, yes, it is going to gradually start warming up. Not a lot this week, a little bit of slow climb, but then in the weekend, some warm to hot weather perhaps coming in. So we'll talk more about that. We'll also take a look. There's not a lot of rain in our forecasts, but we'll see if there's going to be any coming up again a little later in the show.
Sounds good, Joe. We'll check in with you after our first commercial break on Unscripted. But let's start off with a story that we first reported on last night at 11. And our Allie Baxter did a little more digging into the story and has a little more information. So the topic of homelessness has been an issue in the Traverse City region for quite some time now. And there's been plenty of meetings on how to help solve this issue. So during Monday night's City Commission meeting, City commissioners heard a presentation from different community organizations on how to help those experiencing homelessness. So the Homeless Collective says they are determined to have no one living in the Pines next summer. And in case you don't know, the Pines is an area in Traverse City where those experiencing homelessness camp. So our Allie Baxter breaks down the proposed solutions. If I can find her story, give me 1 second. Sorry. Here we go.
We will not have 100 people living in the trees and the mud of the pines.
So how do you make sure that doesn't happen? If you ask the newly formed Homelessness Collective, they'll tell you the answer is...
we need a year-round shelter.
Dave Mengabeer is the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation president. He explains there's lots of ideas for accomplishing this goal, including one coalition's proposal to build a new shelter in Garfield Township, and...
Safe Harbor also is ready to present a short-term 2-year pilot for a year-round night shelter until a longer-term solution like the Community Cares Coalition proposal has been developed further.
As Dave says, there's lots of questions that need to be answered before working towards one solution. So they're asking for direction from Traverse City commissioners on next steps.
What steps do we have available to us in the city to affect that plan and bring that forward?
City commissioners say they want surrounding townships and Grand Traverse County to join the conversation to decide the best solution, saying the county has contributed financially with ARPA funds, but...
I think it can be very easy when the action's only happening within a certain boundary to say, well, they're handling it, or that's not our problem, but it's everybody's problem when it comes to their taxes. It's everybody's problem when it comes to their bottom line.
In Traverse City, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
And for more on this story, let's bring in our Allie Baxter now. She is joining us live from our newsroom. Hi, Allie. Thanks for joining us on Unscripted.
Hi, Maya. It's good to be back on this side of things. It was really hard to fill in for you. You have some big shoes being on that side of things.
Oh, well, you did a great job. I know that when I left for a week, that Unscripted was in very good hands with you as the host. So thanks so much for filling in for me. But Allie, going back to your story, like I mentioned, this is a topic that's been discussed for years now. And it seems like every few months, the city has a meeting where they talk about different solutions, but it kind of seems like nothing ever concrete happens. Is the city feeling a little more confident now about these proposed solutions that by next summer, people won't be sleeping in the pines?
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, Maya. And our reporter, Cody Beer, he was at that meeting last night, but I did watch it virtually from home just because it's something that, like you said, we have reported on this frequently. And like you said, every few months, it does seem, well, there's another meeting saying they're going to do this, and there's an update here. And really what the community is asking for right now is for commissioners to tell them exactly what they want. That's why they kind of have two different ideas here. We have the Coalition Who Cares, which is some of the neighborhoods around who are kind of positioned around the Safe Harbor area. They have come together and proposed putting a new shelter starting from kind of square one with a new shelter in Garfield Township. And of course, there's some questions there about logistically, how can people get there? There's different permits in place. So their proposal is funding to start from square one with a new shelter. And then there's another thing. We have Safe Harbor, who has proposed that they could do a 2-year pilot to do a year-round night shelter specifically. So that's another option. And it seems like they have all the right people in the room right now who are committed to making sure that the Pines isn't a thing next summer. They really want to be able to provide the resources that, when Safe Harbor, during that time of year when they normally close and kind of have that recovery time, they really want it to be that nobody is experiencing that again. So it seems like all the right parties are involved in the conversation. And right now it is some of the community foundations, Rotary charities who are acting as those mediators, it seems, to kind of bring those things together and say, hey, this is what we are willing to fund. But really what they wanted last night was some feedback from the commissioners about what direction do you want us to go in? And do we have the support to go in that direction too?
So what would it take for Safe Harbor to have that 2-year overnight pilot?
I think it would definitely start with more funding. Safe Harbor, we know, is really reliant on volunteers. It's very volunteer based. So that would look like needing funding for more permanent staffing year round, because you have to have people who are willing to work that time of year where normally Safe Harbor isn't open. So it would be that. It would be different types of supportive funding for different kind of programs and stuff like that, we're talking about year round when normally they're open for just a few months out of the year. And this would be taking on a full year commitment. That's a lot more funding. I believe in the meeting, they said it might take, I think, $1 million to do a full year of operations for Safe Harbor. So that's what it would take. Plus, I believe if they did transition to that model, they would have to do a special land use permit, which we've heard this discussion come up with Safe Harbor before, that this was put out there that they might do a special land use permit. It didn't end up happening earlier this year, but it could be something if they do embark on this pilot that could certainly happen.
So it does sound like a lot of these solutions, it would take a while for them to actually become a reality.
Yeah, I would say the Safe Harbor one seems more attainable. And they have said as well, like in this pilot, it's really just going to be in place as a temporary thing until there is a more permanent solution that is brought forward. But they said the city does have to come to them to say exactly like, hey, this is the direction that we want to go in. But ultimately, it does seem like that kind of pushes things out further of, hey, what are we going to do for our long-term solution? We have another coalition here who is proposing doing a different shelter in Garfield Township, but that's going to take many more things as far as how are you going to get people there? You have different permitting processes. Is this something that's even allowed to happen in Garfield Township? And we know construction is so hard to do right now just because of how expensive it is and how hard it is to get the certain materials, the building materials that you need. So they say there's just a few more things that are too up in the air when it comes to that idea. So probably looking at maybe Safe Harbor doing that pilot program.
And last night, the city commission, they didn't actually vote on anything, right? This is more of just a discussion.
Yeah, this was really more just a discussion, and they asked for these updates to be brought to them. But something I think really important that they are really pushing now is they really want the county and they really want the townships to be involved in the conversation too. They say, this impacts everybody in our tax dollars, they go to the county as well. So we really want them to join us in this conversation of saying, hey, what is the best solution, especially if the best solution ends up being something that's going to be in one of your townships. So they really want some of the leaders in these townships in Grand Traverse County and the Grand Traverse County administrators to also come to the table. And they said they have some of those preliminary discussions already, but they want them to be more involved in choosing, what is the solution that we all want to see.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the next steps are just getting more feedback from people in the community.
Yeah, I would say so. And especially since they have presented all these ideas in this public forum, not just to the city commissioners, but also, to those of us who are at those meetings and to those of us who are watching and reading about their plans and these stories. I think there is opportunity to come forward and say, hey, this is what I think would be the best plan.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, our reporter Cody Bear was at the meeting last night, and something that he reported on that was mentioned during that meeting was just some more statistics on how many people are actually experiencing homelessness right now. And I know that we learned in the 5-county area around here, there are about 250 people currently unhoused. And then I don't know who said this, if it was the police department or if it was a coalition, but someone mentioned that every night between 80 to 100 of those people are staying at the Pines. So that's a lot of the population in not just Traverse City and Grand Traverse County, but the 4 surrounding counties as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they say, this time of year especially, they are all coming to that area. And I was actually really surprised, Maya, because I am on the police beat. I see some of these police logs that come through. And I actually thought things in the Pines this summer were better, but that's not what the police chief indicated last night. He said they have had way more calls at this point than they have last year, which I thought was pretty surprising. So I think, all these different entities in the city, like Cody reported on the police and the public safety aspect. We also had the Coalition to End Homelessness there as well. It seems like everyone's really on the same page here about, what, we are smart, we are capable, and we are going to figure out a way, because at the end of the day, they're seeing this as a humanitarian issue, and they don't want people having to live in the pines and the dirt and the mud, and they want people to not be in that situation.
Anything else you want to say about your story, Allie?
I would just say I do feel like they are really pushing right now towards having a solution for next year. And more than anything right now, it seems that they really want the direction from the city, and not just from the city also wants the county involved too. And they're saying it's going to take all those entities together to figure out exactly the perfect plan. So hopefully that is something maybe by the end of the summer we'll maybe hear more concrete details about.
Yep, I'm sure we'll have plenty of updates in the near future. So thanks, Allie, so much for joining us on Unscripted.
Thanks, Maya.
And before we take a commercial break, I do want to share one more story with you that we are working on here in Northern Michigan. So although it is only end of August, some schools are already starting. Yesterday marked the first day of school for students in Lake City. The halls of Lake City Elementary School are full of eager students as they head back to the classroom. And the principal of the elementary school says starting an earlier school year allows them to add what is called an intersession fall break. So that allows students and staff to have an extra break during the fall, kind of similar to spring break, just a time for students and staff to rest, recharge like they would during spring break. And the principal says students can either take time off or take part in special activities that the teachers provide.
School, a really cool opportunity to be able to connect with kids in a different way that maybe some of their interests that you can't explore because there's just not enough time in the day, or maybe there's not an after-school club that you can get running. But that week allows you to have that week to really connect with students in a different way and make school a different connection for school where the kids have fun.
And speaking of back to school, let's put up our question of the day. How much do you spend on back to school clothes and supplies in your household? 16% say more than $1,000, 25% say $500 to $1,000, and 59% say less than $500. You can scan that QR code on your screen right now to vote. I will keep this up on the screen during our commercial break. If you're watching online, you can scan the code, and you can also leave a comment in the live stream right now. But we are going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us in Up North Live Unscripted. Let's bring back in Joe from the Storm Team Weather Center for more on the rest of the forecast. And Joe, it kind of seems like this is a pretty easy week to forecast for you.
Yeah, I mean, get the boss to give me the rest of the week off. I'll just get the forecast ready, and it'll be kind of the same each day.
Every day, we can just repeat it.
Yeah. No, it is really nice, and we're in store for a really nice week. The days are getting shorter. I mean, we're going to be in September here pretty soon, so time to, I guess, take advantage of these nice days here, Maya.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's start off around northern Michigan. Let's take a look, and we're going to call these the quad boxes, but Gaylord, Mackinac Island, Petoskey, and Cadillac, and they all pretty much look the same. Hardly any clouds. Beautiful evening across northern Michigan so far. And that has been the case today, and we're going to get more of this coming up tomorrow. Temperatures are in the 60s to around 70 right now. Manistee, Frankfort, 66, 70 at Pellston. By the way, last night, Grayling, well, it's near 70 currently, got down to 39 last night. And we're going to get pretty similar or get down somewhat close to that again tonight. The reason being we have a big wedge of high pressure right over the UP tonight. There it is. And that's going to keep any rain far away from us. And the thing is, too, when you have high pressure overhead, usually you get clear skies, but you typically get a light wind. And so that combination will set up kind of a chilly night out there tonight. Maybe in our cooler spots, a few upper 30s. There is some rain both east and west of us tonight. You see that spinning away there over Canada into New York State. And then a band of showers in Minnesota, South Dakota, and Iowa. But smack dab in the middle where we are, dry weather. There's a look at things tonight. Completely clear for the most part across northern Michigan this evening. Now, what we expect going forward, well, it's kind of a rinse and repeat the next few days. Dry weather tonight. There we are tomorrow on Wednesday. Beautiful day. Stop the clock there on 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Clear tomorrow night. Comfortable. There we are on Thursday. Dry weather. Right in the middle of the day there, Thursday afternoon. And then Friday, we see some clouds increasing. I do think there'll be a little uptick in cloud cover Friday. Now, you look here, you might see this rain and think, well, I thought we had a dry forecast. I don't think much of this is going to make it in here. So at least for the time being, we're going to continue with the dry forecast. The long-range rain forecast, we'll take this out over a week. So there's right now. We'll add up all the rain over the course of the next week. There's next weekend into Monday and Tuesday. Not much rain here across the Great Lakes. It looks pretty dry, pretty quiet. Let's take a look ahead at the weekend. Well, you know what? Actually, before we do that, I want to show you something too. The dew point trend, how muggy it's going to feel. That's last week in blue, and the yellow is the forecast. We're down in this comfy and dry category. I mean, you felt it out there today. There's not much humidity, but look Saturday, more so Sunday, Monday. Pretty big climb, and so it is going to get humid and muggy again as we get later into the weekend early next week. Just want to point that out real quick. If you have weekend plans, no major issues. Partly cloudy Saturday, upper 70s, mid 80s, and then Sunday, mostly sunny and a warm one. It'll be humid too with mid and upper 80s. There's the masterpiece. We call it the extended forecast. Boy, very little rain. You see the warm up. It's a slow warm up into the weekend, and then Sunday, Monday appears to be the two very warm days. It'll be muggy. Tuesday, chance for a shower or a thunderstorm. But again, Maya, a long dry stretch coming up here. Might need to water the lawn and the gardens and things like that, especially as we get toward the end of the week.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Joe. We are going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll check in with Harrison Beebe. He continues his countdown to kickoff, this time in Boyne City. Stick with us.
Live Sports is sponsored by Ebel's General Store.
The countdown to kickoff rolls on as we jump up north to put the spotlight on Boyne City today. After having back-to-back 9-win seasons, the Ramblers were humbled a bit by last season's 5-5 finish. A big chunk of the sophomores on varsity may have made things a little tougher to adjust, but now those players are more acclimated to the varsity level. It comes at a pretty good time. Boyne City is now back in the biggest division of the Northern Michigan Football Conference, with teams like Kingsley and Traverse City St. Francis as divisional opponents once again. Dave Settle, head coach, wants to see their very best on the schedule because that's how he knows he'll get the very best from his guys.
Somewhat disappointed with the outcome last year. We did deal with some injuries and stuff, but no excuses. We didn't live up to our standards. The kids have took that to heart. They're going to work. And we're going to come out swinging week 1. We feel that's where we should be playing. That's our competition level. Those are the teams that we want to beat to get where we want to be. And it really has helped strengthen our schedule even further.
We got a lot of young kids this year, but our team's going to be pretty good this year. We're all super excited. Just during practice out here, man, we're just competing. Just every single day, all the time.
What does it mean to you to have these guys, not only here in this interview, but, in the trenches with you when the game's going to be toughest?
It's my family. They've been working so hard. I just want to see them succeed. In the off season together, early mornings, late nights, hanging out together. It's going to be fun.
Ramblers hope to begin that fun 1 week from Friday. They'll have a trip to Standish Sterling.
It is that time of the year again to start thinking about back to school shopping. Most students around Northern Michigan probably won't start school until after Labor Day, but some students already started. Lake City schools started yesterday. So that prompted our question of the day. How much do you spend on back to school clothes and supplies in your household? 61% say less than $500, 24% say $500 to $1,000, and 15% say more than $1,000. I think this really depends on how many kids are in your household. If you only have one student, I'm thinking you're probably going to spend less than $500. But if you have 3, 4, 5 kids, Oof, I can't even imagine what that back to school bill would be. If you haven't voted yet, you can scan that QR code on your screen right now. But that'll do it for Up North Live Unscripted. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here tonight on Up North Live News at 11.